Alright, now in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to actually be the player that women obsess over. I have step-by-step guided tactical notes to make this effortless for you, but the only way that you can truly be the player that women obsess over is you have to change your thinking and your thought process to what the goal state is to attract and retain relationships with women. The goal is not to sleep with her or just to have sex. That is not the goal. The goal is not to just sleep with her. The goal 100% is to make her fall in love. And this is why. The reason why is because you're going to get better overall relationship dynamics. She's going to treat you better. She's going to like you more. And it will last longer if she actually loves you. Okay, so there's things that happen outside of the bedroom in order for that to occur. So I'm going to tell you something. The only way that you become the player that women obsess over is you have to actually start to redefine your thought process as to what a player is. And once we talk about this, I'm going to show you the 6 steps that I typically implement, or the 6 processes that I like to follow to make sure that this occurs, so that way I have a really good dynamic between the women that I date. So the first thing we have to do here is we're going to have to redefine what a player is. So let's actually take this from the top. Now, what is a player? Okay? My definition of a player is probably different than your definition of a player. Most guys have a definition of a player that just involves a guy who sleeps with a lot of girls, or a guy who is able to have access to a lot of, women, or a lot of women are interested in him. That is not what I consider a player. Here's what I consider a player. What a player is a guy who can convince women, or a specific woman, that he likes her, okay, while simultaneously getting her to reciprocate that interest without committing to her. Okay, and here's why I know this, because the more women that I've dated, the more women that I've talked to, okay, there's always this one specific dynamic a lot of times with their past experiences with men, and typically it's something along these lines right here. To women, it's always the guy where she goes, he led me on for 6 months and I thought it was going to turn into something and then it didn't. Or we saw each other for 3 months and I thought it would turn into something more and it didn't. That right there is always the guy that they keep consistently thinking about. That is always the guy that they consistently want, is the one that got away. If you have the dynamic where you are the one that got away, that is always the dynamic where hypergamy is most satisfied, because she genuinely feels like you are the best that she can do in a dating situation. So let's go into this even deeper. Now, the reason that I know that this works so well is not because of my own results, but I'll give you an example. Inside of our movement, inside of our community, I have actually been showing guys the language of women. And one of our members writes a post and he goes, "She won't leave me alone." He goes, "So this girl I've been talking to won't stop trying to talk to me." He goes, "I already FaceTimed her during lunch, and now she wants to FaceTime again. We FaceTimed for 30 minutes, and then I had to go. She's asking me to FaceTime again. She's super sweet, but I don't want this to turn into a daily thing." The funny thing about this is if you shift your eyes to the bottom of his post, he goes, "I didn't mean for her to like me this much. LMAO." So this is what I'm seeing is majority of men are in the dynamic or the situation where they're hoping and praying that a woman likes them. When I have been showing guys the language of women and how to master it, the dynamic flips, and now guys are saying things like, "I didn't mean for her to like me this much." So without further ado, there's 6 steps to master this. I'm going to try to do this all in one take because it will just flow better, so stick with me. Now, these 6 steps, okay, there's one prerequisite. Okay, the prerequisite steps to this, okay, is when I first meet the woman, and this could be at some point through text message, this could be on the first date, this could be some point on or at the second date, I will usually say something along these lines. What I'll tell them is I say, "Hey, I already see a couple women romantically, so I don't really care if this goes anywhere, or it doesn't matter if this goes anywhere." And what that does is it takes a lot of pressure off. And what it does is it even opens up the idea to potential friendship. Now, there's a prerequisite to that as well. If you're going to enter into that dynamic, you have to be attractive. You have to make yourself a masculine man. Women typically don't want to just be friends with masculine men. They want to date those types of men. So keep that in mind. That's the dynamic I enter into as I tell them I already see a couple women romantically. There's a level of professionalism you want to have when you say that. You don't want to say I'm already seeing a couple women. You don't want to say I'm already sleeping with other women. It makes you sound like you don't have any class. What you do is you say, "I'm already seeing a couple women romantically." That opens her up to the idea that there's something more going on. Maybe this will be your girlfriend one day or something along those lines. If you execute that, it puts her in the dynamic of pre-selection to occur, and now you can implement these 6 steps perfectly. So now we're going to dive into the 6 steps to actually make that woman obsess over you and make her really like you. So step number 1, as you are seeing her or as you guys start to talk, the first step is you want to have inconsistent text messaging paired with in-person compliments that signal that you like her personality. Why are you doing that? Because you're trying to make this seem like there's more going on than just you two sleeping together or some kind of short-term interaction that will fizzle out. So I'm going to say this one more time. Inconsistent text messaging. So let's break down that part. When you're seeing her or when you guys are starting to talk, she doesn't know if she's going to hear back from you in 24 hours, in 48 hours, in 4 days, in 20 minutes, in 2 minutes, or in 2 hours, or in 4 hours, or in 8 hours. She doesn't know. So that inconsistency adds a level of mystery to how you live because she doesn't know what you're up to. So that's first. Inconsistent text messaging paired with in-person compliments that signal that you like her personality. So the things that I will start to compliment is things like her voice. I will say how sweet her voice sounds. I will compliment her nails if they're done and if they're freshly manicured or if she got them painted. I will compliment her hair or I will compliment her perfume. Okay, so notice, I'm not saying anything that's super overt, like, oh my gosh, you look so sexy. Okay, or I'm not going to say anything like that. I'm going to talk about small little details that I notice about her that signal self-care. So why is this first piece so important? Inconsistent text messaging is going to allow her thought process to have some mystery to it where she doesn't know where you stand. Now, if you pair that with in-person compliments about her personality or things you notice about her, she's going to think that this might actually go somewhere. What you're going to notice through all 6 of these points is these are nuanced. And what I'm going to be talking about and showing you is why it's important to add contrast. Okay? Contrast is important. You know, if you were to have a friend, you have a friend, let's say named Frank, and you guys go out together, and let's say Frank comes over to see you. If you text Frank and you say, man, Ben's so long, I can't wait to see you, right? And then Frank comes over and he does something weird or he says something weird. And you say back to him, you go, man, you're so weird. I can't even believe I hang out with you, right? There's contrast there. You texted Frank and you said, I can't wait to see you. But you also said, I don't even know why I see you, or I don't know why you hang out with, I don't know why I hang out with you. That's contrast. Women fall in love when there's contrast. So keep that in mind. That's point number 1. We will go on to point number 2. Okay, point number 2 is a little bit simpler. There's less here to discuss. Once you guys sleep together or after you guys sleep together, okay? Post-sex, okay, so after sex has occurred, you want to make sure you spend time with her. That way it doesn't feel like it was just an interaction that's not going anywhere. You want to spend time with her. So put on a movie and have some sort of conversation, okay? Make the conversation fun and easygoing. Make the conversation at least 30, 45, maybe 50 minutes, even an hour if you intend on spending a little bit more time with her. What that's going to do is it's going to make it feel real. It's going to make it seem like there's something going on here. A lot of guys, the problem with their interactions is they don't actually take the time to look at the finer details of a woman's emotions. So a woman just oftentimes does not want something to feel like, you know, it happened once and then it's over. You want her to feel like there's real, raw, authentic chemistry between you and her. So how does that occur? It occurs by spending time with her after intimacy has occurred. Put on a movie, put on something funny to watch on TV or something like that, and spend some time talking with her. It's going to help, right? She's going to fall in love deeper because now she sees you as a potential companion. Okay, now point number 3 is important because once you guys have slept together, what you can now do is you can request deeper level things in the relationship or in the interaction. So I put this in quotation marks here. One of the things that I say is I would say something along the lines of, you know what I'd love? Okay? You want to say, do you know what I'd love? I'd love it if you, and then you fill in the blank. So some of the things that I would say is I would say like, you know what I'd love? And then she's going to say what? And I'd say, I'd love it if you made us spaghetti, or we need to have a quesadilla night. I'd love if you cooked me quesadillas, something like that. Or you can say, hey, I'd love if you got your nails done this color. Oh, I'd love to see your nails olive green. I'd love to see your nails bright orange. I'd love to see your nails hot pink. Okay? So you say, I'd love to see your nails like that. What you're doing is you're basically saying, I'd love it if you did this. I would love it if I saw you this way. I would love it if you did this. And what's going to happen is if she likes you, if she has any interest in wanting this to continue, her natural feminine tendency, oftentimes she tries to please the man. So how do you become pleased? You become pleased by speaking what you'd like to have done or what you would like to have happen. So I'd say, I'd love it if you cooked this. I'd love it if you made this. I'd love it if your nails were done this color. I'd love it if you curled your hair for our date night. You start to implement little things in ways that you would like to see her. She's going to assume that you like her. She's going to assume that this is going somewhere. You're future pacing what a potential future and relationship would look like if you two were together. So that's the third point. Now, remember, the prerequisite step to this is that you told her from the get-go that you're already seeing other women romantically. So now what happens here, okay? Eventually, if you keep seeing this woman, eventually she will say something along the lines of, you know, you'd have so much potential. I really see a future with you. You have so much potential as a boyfriend or as a husband. You have so much potential. Do you think you could ever see yourself with just one woman? This is what she's going to ask you. She's going to ask you if you are even open to the idea of a relationship. And what she's really hinting at is she's wondering if you're open to the idea of a relationship with her. Now, the way that you handle that is probably with truth. And the truth is that you probably are open to a relationship with the right woman. So what you tell her is, yes, I'd be open to that if things progressed to that level. So notice you answered the question indirectly. She doesn't know when that time will be. And what you're doing is you're allowing mystery to let time unfold for itself. Now, after step 3, you're going to run into the shift. Okay, what is the shift that starts to occur, or what is the shift that has to occur? The shift is this. The shift is after those 3 points, now you get her to start helping you with stuff. So you find ways that she can assist you in your life. Okay, and I'm going to show you ways that I do that, okay? What you're actually looking for here is you are looking for deeper level investment, and that deeper level investment is only shown by her actually helping you with things day to day. What that means is that means an attachment has to actually be built. She has to be somewhat attached to you in some way, shape, or form where you're providing enough emotional stimulus where she does not want that to end. Very, very important. So this is where the shift has occurred. The shift occurs when now you're going to actually show things that you would like help with, and you're going to see if she's going to actually come into that world and help you. So point number 4, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to request that she helps you with things. So I will give you an example. You tell her, hey, work is really busy lately, or I've been super busy with work. I've been super busy, going to the gym or whatever. You're going to say, hey, can you swing by and help me meal prep? Or can you swing by and help me with laundry? Right? I really need laundry done, honey. I really need laundry done, baby. Can you please come help me? Here's why she'll probably say yes. She will feel like you two are growing. So what's going to happen is she's going to picture herself potentially like as a wife. And she's going to say to herself, what would life look like if there was a husband and wife dynamic? Well, I'm probably going to be involved in this man's life in deeper level things, and he's probably going to need me for things. So now what's going to happen is you're actually future pacing a relationship, okay? She will like this because it appears as if you two are growing. She's going to say, well, he must like me enough to want me in his house. He must trust me enough to be around his belongings. The whole premise of this is that you have to remember, she probably wants to grow with a man. She wants to grow with a man in a relationship. So because of that, her helping you with added things makes her feel very feminine. It puts her in a position where psychologically she will feel as if this is going somewhere and that things are progressing. Okay, now point number 5, this is a great one because now you're going to start to add spontaneous adventures. So I'll give you an example of what I would do. You start going on random adventures. I would call or I would text her at probably about 10:30 or 11 p.m. And I'd say, hey, let's go swing through the drive-thru and get some food. I'm hungry. Or what you're going to do is you're going to just swing through the drive-thru and get some food or something like that. Now, this is very important. There is verbal layers to this. Somewhere around this step, or once I've seen the girl consistently for probably like a month or something like that, or maybe 2 months, 3 months, somewhere along these lines, right? You have to read body language. You have to be able to read where the interaction's going. And just like earlier, I told you have to add layers of contrast. So somewhere around this point, what I'm going to say is I'm going to say something along the lines of how much I enjoy spending time with her, but then I'm going to add in some contrast. I'm going to say, I love spending time with you, or something along those lines. But then in reverse, I'm also going to tell her something along the lines of, all good things come to an end, so enjoy this while it lasts. Okay, now instantly when she hears that, she's going to say, well, why would you say that? Or she's going to say, well, why do all good things have to come to an end? And your rebuttal to that, or what you say, is you say, well, hey, how many men have you dated in the past? And she's going to say, oh, I've had 3 boyfriends. And I'm going to say, oh, how long did you date each of them? And she's going to say, oh, a year with this guy, a couple of years with this guy, and 8 months with this guy. And what I'm going to tell her is I'm going to say, that's my point. All good things come to an end, right? I'm going to say, at some point with all of those men in the past, there was a last time that you saw them. At some point with all of those guys, there was a final point where that was the last time you two saw each other. And I'm going to tell her that both of you guys probably didn't know when that time would be. And then I'm going to look at her and smile and say, hey, at some point, that's what you have to know, is all good things come to an end, just like it did with all of those other past relationships. And what will typically happen here is she will agree with you. She will say, yeah, you're right. At some point with all of them, there was a final time where we saw each other, and that was it. Okay, which brings me to point number 6. What you're now going to do, once she's text messaging you frequently, she's asking to see you frequently, she's using a lot of emojis in text messages, you're going to slowly pull back and start flaking on dates, even if you guys have plans. So if you do that, what it's going to show is it shows you potentially are seeing other people, or you have higher level priorities. And if you start doing this, what this is probably going to do is raise her desire point to a 10 out of 10. And from there, she's really going to want to consistently keep seeing you. So here's why I find this very important. If you start to master some of these points that I discussed in here, and keep in mind, you don't have to do these textbook perfectly, right? This is just 5 or 6 steps that I do that works really well. The reason why I do this, okay, is because if you master this, hypergamy now labels you as the one that got away. And the one that got away is consistently the guy that she compares all of the other men that she'll meet in the future to. So if you were the one that got away, every other guy that she now meets, she is going to probably compare them to you. And if you master that dynamic, there's a very high chance that she will probably be in love with you for years, or for a long period of time where you guys can consistently keep seeing each other. So this right here is how you be the player that women love. This is how you be the player that women obsess over. And I'm going to tell you this. This is why I was able to bring over 550 guys together inside of our movement, inside of our community. Because what you can tell, okay, if you have been watching my videos for a period of time, you already know a few things. Number one, you know that I teach high-level concepts. Anybody who comes into this channel knows instantly that there is more here than meets the eye than just basic dating strategies. I am showing you layers to this, nuanced layers that have taken me years to accumulate, nuanced layers of relationships that have taken me so many years of ups and downs, trial and error, and dating so many women over the years to figure out what to do versus what not to do. So when I watch hundreds of guys come into this, we are building the strongest community that I have ever seen myself build. This is something that I am very proud to actually show you guys, and this is something that has taken me years to do, to actually master the language of women, not only for myself, but to be able to show that to men all across the globe. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.